Questions from the people. Senator Schiff, given the ongoing political tensions and Trump's actions toward his critics, do you think President Biden's preemptive pardons turned out to be more important than initially expected? Let's first tell people what that means. Preemptive pardons. That was pretty unprecedented, right? Before he left office, Joe Biden pardoned you.
We're breaking down one of the most surprising and subtly intense face-offs you never expected today. Bill Maher versus Adam Schiff. Yes, you heard correctly. Sharp words, hard looks, and some very uncomfortable facts. No yelling, no table slamming. All were cheerfully delivered during HBO's Overtime. On one side, you have the Schiff congressman Mr. Anti-Trump has essentially made criticizing corruption his full-time job. Bill Maher, the uncompromising broadcaster who has made a name for himself by ridiculing everyone from pop culture figures to politicians, stands across from him. The two discussed everything from California's progressive mess to President Biden's contentious pardons to how social media might be frying the next generation's brains. Throughout, the atmosphere was tense and passive-aggressive. Was Schiff merely making excuses for a system that is obviously failing, or was he the voice of reason? Was Maher revealing more, or simply becoming that person who complains about the good old days? There is little doubt that this was a prime-time chess match rather than merely a debate. And spoiler alert, nobody left looking spotless.
Should have given the pardons at all.
Really?
No, I don't think it should have, and I was vocal about that at the time.
Can you refuse a pardon?
That's less clear because in the case of the January 6th committee, he pardoned essentially the whole committee.
I see.
But I didn't like it both because we were enormously proud of our work on the January 6th committee, but more than that, establishing a precedent that on the way out the door, you're going to pardon any number of people, gave him even greater latitude on his way out of the door to pardon everyone around him. Chief Justice Roberts, in that immunity decision, I think, which will go down in infamy, already gave this president permission to be lawless. But the abuse of the pardon power essentially gives him an opportunity to tell everyone around him, then when I'm on the way out the door, I've got your back. And so I think part of why you see such willingness among the people around him to engage in lawless action is they're confident they'll get a pardon.
Consider this. The pardons begin to fly like confetti before charges are even filed. Okra is feeling energized by it. You receive forgiveness and forgiveness. Everyone is forgiven. However, this is the genuine thing, not daytime television. Additionally, Adam Schiff, the spokesperson for the impeachment process, is criticizing President Biden for his proactive pardoning actions. To be honest, he's not incorrect to sound the alarm. Schiff didn't hold back when he described it as a grave error, because you send a strong message to all corrupt insiders when you begin to pardon people before they are brought accountable. Not to worry, I'll take care of you when it's time for me to go. And just when you believe that things can't be much more problematic, Schiff directly connected it to the most recent shocking Supreme Court decision. The one that essentially allows Trump to flout the law while in office. The takeaway: the do-as-you-please stamp has been added to presidential immunity. Schiff claims we're on a perilous path where future presidents could rule like mob bosses due to unbridled executive power and these sweeping pardons. Fairness is subordinated to loyalty over the law. He's raising the 5 alarm bells, not just his eyebrows, because our democracy is barely surviving if this becomes the new standard and the entire concept of responsibility is thrown out the window.
Up during the show because I don't know enough about it, but there was a judge in Milwaukee, I guess it was a hearing for an illegal immigrant, definitely an illegal immigrant, and the ICE people came in to arrest this person, and apparently the judge spirited the person out the back door. That's what I read. Don't know if it's true because I don't trust anybody until I do a full vetting of it. But if this is and so the FBI came in and arrested the judge. Now, I haven't heard that, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever read arrested a judge. So is this significant?
Well, I think
I'm not going to comment on something I don't know more about than what you've just told me.
You read about it too.
Yeah, I mean, I read about it, but I don't know.
So you don't trust anything either, and you work for the New York Times.
Well, the New York Times
All right, visualize this. After reportedly assisting an undocumented immigrant in evading IC officers through a courthouse's rear entrance, the FBI suddenly appears and takes the judge into custody. It sounds like a crazy scene from a drama on Netflix, doesn't it? Indeed, that is the warning sign. The drama is almost too great to be real. Even Bret Stephens and Adam Schiff, two men who typically disagree on everything, were able to agree on this one. Hold on. To be honest, they have a point, but this scenario still doesn't pass the smell test. A breaking in banner is slapped on a dog if it sneezes in an odd way in the media frenzy of today. The competition to become viral frequently outperforms the competition to get it right. There are far too many headlines created before the facts or even double cheats sometimes. Indignation takes precedence over context-optional accuracy. To gain clicks, it all comes down to pressing emotional hot buttons. However, this is the unintentional knowledge that Schiff and Steven discovered. Don't trust the hype. Not immediately anyhow. Even the most reputable websites can behave like glorified gossip blogs with fancy fonts and nicer lighting. So yes, let's investigate if the stories are true. But in the meantime, keep your wits about you. Be wary and keep in mind that when someone claims to have breaking news, they're probably just trying to con you out of your money.
And remember, every time you hear breaking, odds are they're just breaking your brain for ad revenue.
If film and TV productions continue to move out of California due to tax incentives in other states, what might the future look for Los Angeles? Is there a risk of it becoming the next Detroit? Well, there's no need to shit on Detroit in the question. Detroit's a fine city. Detroit.
Well, the central part of that question is that California, I'm sorry to say this, a beautiful state, has become Exhibit A in progressive misgovernance. And if you're going to tax industries straight out of the country, if you're going to continue to lose, 100,000, 200,000 people every year who have to leave here because it's unaffordable, because housing is unaffordable, you're going to create an example of what Americans don't want from the left. So Democrats, and my colleague Ezra Klein is doing this, are taking a good hard look at California and saying, we're not that. We need to be a party that's from some other model.
Well, I don't disagree that we've got to do a lot to improve governance in California, but I don't agree with the diagnosis of why the film industry is leaving. They're leaving because they're getting richer incentives in other states and in other countries. And we haven't kept pace with that. So if you want to film in the United Kingdom, you're going to get a tremendous tax break, and our motion picture industry has left the country. If you want to film in New York or Georgia, there are generous tax incentives. If we want to keep the industry here, we're going to have to compete with tax incentives. California has started to do that. But on a federal level, I think the United States is also going to have to offer incentives to keep this industry here and to compete around the world. It didn't used to be necessary, but they're successfully wooing away this prize economic and cultural driver of the United States. So I have a deep personal interest, both because I represent this area for a long time in the House, and I love this industry. I love going out to the movies. I love watching great TV.
Bret Stephens was unreserved. He blatantly referred to California as a walking, talking billboard for how radical policies may go awry. Furthermore, he's not really reaching. We're discussing exorbitant taxes, a maze of bureaucratic red tape, and housing expenses that would make a billionaire shudder. Not only are people fleeing, but the states are in full-fledged exodus mode. Adam Schiff, to be fair, intervened to balance things out. He resisted a little, claiming that Hollywood isn't leaving California due to liberal policies, but rather because they're looking for better tax breaks in states like Georgia, New York, and even the United Kingdom. You're right. However, this is where things became intriguing. Yes, both of them, even Schiff, acknowledged that California is having problems, and not just in films and television. Living expenses are terrible. It takes forever to build a house. The rules are a nightmare. It's similar to attempting to complete Game of Thrones. Lengthy, intricate, and unsatisfactory conclusion. In a unique turn of events, Schiff and Stephens came to the same conclusion. California won't be fixed by throwing more money to Hollywood. The issues are much more profound. I appreciate you staying and helping me work through this. This is your space. If you're sick of being spoon-fed heated takes without any context. Our upcoming live and uncensored exploration of political upheaval. Hey, I'd want to know what you think. Leave a comment with your ideas. Are we witnessing a slow-motion collapse, or is California simply going through a difficult time? I'll see you with the next one.